Alrighty, so here we are, State of the Union. I have built a 24 volt lithium iron phosphate battery bank, and we've got it wired in here. I just reused the original 12 gauge conductors from the battery bank. I'm actually only using half of them. So this is definitely a very temporary solution. And I've got that crimped into the Anderson power pole, and I don't know if you can quite make it out here. Yeah, I got a 60 amp fuse. And so right now the UPS is off. You can see it's charged our battery bank up to 27.26. You can't really see it. I've got a balance board down here, which is what all these connectors are running to. So we don't have any under or over voltage protection besides what the UPS is offering us. Alright, so I've got the current clamp hooked up around the positive lead coming from our 24 volt battery over back here. And then this multimeter is directly hooked up to the FETs of the H-bridge, so we're reading after all the cabling and connector losses what our voltage is. And so we'll go ahead and wake this thing up. See how it likes running on lithium. It shouldn't care, as we imagine. So the battery's at 100%. Oh, there it is, self-testing. Well, that's good. We'd hope so. It passed. Alrighty, and so now we're still plugged in with the wall. I can turn on my Harbor Freight heat gun here. Let's see, we're definitely able to pull current, but this is still with AC power. So now let's go unplug it from the wall. Here we are, running off lithium for the first time. Let's load it. Fingers crossed. So we're getting a pretty significant voltage drop across the cables here. Just gonna make sure nothing feels. We're drawing, you can see there, 36 amps. It's doing alright. They're warming up a little bit. We can do some. This is starting to warm up just barely above ambient temperature. Oh yeah, these are getting pretty warm. Definitely need direct cooling on those. And so, if we come into configuration, change this to the advanced menu, come back out. You can see our load right here, 730 watts, 7 amps. Our input's nothing on battery, so we'll leave that up. And yeah, we're still drawing bang on 37 amps. Wires are definitely heating up a bit, not too hot. The FETs are getting warm now, getting close to too hot to touch, so they'll definitely need active cooling. Transformer's fine. And we'll turn it off for a second so we can get rid of the voltage sag and see what the battery's actually at. There you go, 2587. Another note, I'm sure a lot of you are curious what this draws at idle. So you can see, oh, not quite zeroed out. Zero that out, zero it out. It's drawing 1.6 amps with no load. So those are just your core losses. So of course that means, at low power, this has horrible efficiency while running on battery. But you'd only turn this on when you needed it, or it's only going to turn itself on if you're using it as a UPS when it's needed. So you don't worry about that most of the time. So I've plugged it back in. It's back on utility power. It is charging at about 1.9 amps. There's our battery voltage, 26.4950. It's climbing up slowly. So I'm going to leave this sitting here for a while, and we'll see what it charges the batteries up to and see if we need to modify that at all. Alrighty, so it's been sitting for several hours now, plugged into utility power, and it has brought the lithium battery bank up to right about, you can see 27.33 volts. And if you divide that by the 8 cells, that's 3.416 volts per cell. My cells were a little out of balance, so the balance board down over there, you guys can't see, is bringing them all into balance. But yeah, I've checked with the current clamp meter on this red wire. We've only got about 200 milliamps flowing into the batteries still. So what I'm going to do now is drain the batteries and try and see how low it'll let the batteries drain. I'm going to use about the 700, 750 watt heat gun load. And my one concern is this is doing all right, the transformer up front here, but I'm concerned about these MOSFETs. So I've go ahead and I've jammed a thermocouple in underneath on one of these heat sinks here. And you can see we've got that right here. It's a little bit hard to read for you guys, but it's sitting at 25°, so a nice room temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this and show you guys what it does after a few minutes. Alright, so I've unplugged the unit. You can see our battery voltage dropped down just a little bit. We're still at 25°. I'm going to go ahead and kick on the heat gun. Sure, that's making a lovely racket in the video. You can see we've already dropped down a couple of volts here, just taking that surface charge off of the lithium batteries. And just a reminder, this voltage here is measured on the H bridge back here, so that's after all of our cabling losses and everything. And while these aren't my final cables, they're totally fine to handle the 30 amps or so that we're getting. So I'll keep feeling the inverter and the cables every once in a while, give them the very unscientific measurement, and we will see what happens to the MOSFETs. I'll probably turn off this clip and come back here in a few minutes. So this has been running for a few minutes here. We can see we're about 67 degrees Celsius on the MOSFETs, so those are getting pretty hot. I actually brought over, just out of frame here, I brought over a fan to blow across them. I won't let them get much above 75, 80. But we could see that it's learned the battery percentage, which is quite interesting. So it thinks this battery's almost dead, and it was, even though the voltage was staying very constant, it was just dropping the percentage quite regularly. And so I've heard people say that these things will learn the battery you have hooked up to them. So now after I run a complete cycle, its runtime and battery estimates will be much more accurate. But that's just something interesting to note, that of course, the lithium battery curve is very different than a lead acid battery curve, but that this definitely is doing some sort of capacity-based battery percentage estimate. And so yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how well it tracks once we've run a full cycle on the lithium batteries. Alright, so I've ran the heat gun for probably 20 or 30 minutes there. The FETs leveled off at around 72, 73 degrees, and that's with this house fan blowing across the whole unit. Not sure what the transformer's at, but I can hold my hand on it, and it is hot, but it's definitely, I can keep my hand on it. But I stopped the test for a little bit. It's still on battery, as you can see. I just stopped the test for a little bit to let my balancing board do its job, because some of my cells were getting really low here on the left. A couple of them were down at 2.7, 2.6 under load, while the good ones were still up at 3.1, 3.2. So we'll let this balance out for a bit and I'll get back with you. Alright, so I was draining those batteries that I had shown you last time, and basically because I slapped the battery bank together, they were getting really out of balance at the bottom end there, so I wasn't able to do a proper dropout test. So now I've got them hooked up to my 1200 watt adjustable power supply, and you can see the voltage right here. We're off, so we'll go ahead and click this on. No sparks yet. We're at 24.3, which should be enough. And we're plugged in all the way. So if we wake the UPS up, there it goes. Run next to nothing. Let's go ahead and turn it on. It should, expect it to surge for a second. Turn on, no delay, enter. Oh. Alright, we current limited and killed it there. Let's bump the current limit up a little bit. Don't want my test leads to light on fire, so try again. It wakes up. Alright. Came on that time. On battery. Alright, there we go. So now it's happy. I'm gonna turn the current limit back down just because I was just making sure I could get past the surge. I really don't want it running. I just have it hooked up with alligator clips, so don't want it running much more than 3 amps or so. So we're just gonna start dropping the voltage here. You can see we're at 23. $22.5. Oh, and let me go ahead and read the screen output. Alright, it says 5% battery, 22.1, 22.0 is giving us 2% battery, 21.9. We're down at 21.5 here. Yeah, looks like you guys are seeing the same thing. 23. There it was. Right at about 21.2. Right in there. Alright, so there we go. There's our answer. At about 21.2 volts. Alright, so doing some quick math there, we can know the battery bank turned off around 21.1 after reviewing the footage, and we divide that by our 8 cells. That's 2.64 volts per cell. That's a little lower than I'd like. And the top end, if we remember, was 27.3, 27.4, right in there, divided by 8. It's 3.41 volts per cell. So I'm happy to charge these batteries up to about 3.55. So if we go 3.55 times 8, we're at 28.4. And now we subtract what we're currently seeing as our max voltage, which is 27.3. We got 1.1 volt here that we want to raise the upper limit. So what we should be able to do is go into that battery scaler and tweak it until our max charge voltage is 28.4 instead of 27.3, and I'm hoping that's just going to shift the whole range up slightly so we can come down, and instead of 21.2 we'll be getting that extra 1.1 volt, right? We'll be getting 23.3. Divide that by 8 cells, 2.78. So that's a lot is a lot happier. That's still a little lower than most people would like to go, but the marking on these cells is 2 volts minimum, so 2.8 doesn't seem that bad at all. And then worst comes to worst, we can get in and change the resistor voltage divider on the circuit board, but at least this way it'll keep it a little bit simpler. And this is all, again, this is only for the AC power charging. You know, the plan is to run a solar charger on this, so maybe at the end of the day I'll be able to just set whatever upper limit. No, that won't work. No, so we'll try and slide this whole scale up by about 1 volt and see what happens on a different video. So in summary, I definitely think the next steps are to address the cooling issue on the FETs by adding some sort of fan. Not sure quite how I'll do that yet. And then obviously the batteries for the permanent installation will be with much thicker gauge cabling. But we'll definitely start with that. And I've got the FETs in the mail that we'll use to replace it with. These, oh, it's not going to focus. The IRF 32005 PBF. Because this, as far as I know, this device is entirely N-channel, and it just uses like a voltage booster to drive the N-channel FETs that are on the high side of the H-bridge. So yeah, so up next we'll be doing the FET replacement, and we'll be addressing the cooling issues. And then after that we'll move into putting it into a case and things like that.